And the magic machine tells me that I'm live. And the magic machine tells me that I'm live. And the image tells me that I am in need of a haircut. How you doing? And we say hello to this is the so I've got two computers in front of me, and which invariably means that I will be spending the entire evening. I'm not going to be here that long. This is going to be a short episode. I'm going to be spending the entire time reaching for the wrong um, mouse. Reaching for the right mouse, I highlight and say hello to the elephant in the room. Elephants in the room, often going unacknowledged. Ironically, our elephant in the room, doubly ironically, trifecta, I guess, always acknowledged. We say hello to Jilly Beans, we've got the gold medal for live chat participation going out to the elephant in the room. We've got our silver medal winner already, Jilly Beans. Congratulations to Jilly Beans. And the game is afoot. Pardon me? Not being watered, of course, will do nothing to refresh me. This will be a quick episode. I wanted to make sure to get here. I feel like it's been a while since I put content here. And we have our bronze. And of course, true to form, I reached for the wrong controller again. Pragmagic. No whammy, actually, for you. We land straight on a whammy. Keats, you seem familiar. Known cryptocurrency enthusiast, dog walker extraordinaire to the Blue Chicken Stars. Pragmagic joins us, winning that praised bronze medal. We have Jonaside, fourth placement, no medal for thee, but an honorable mention. And of course, everyone who shows up from now can eat a dick. You're worthless. You're less than nothing to me. Go big or go home. You're a disappointment to daddy. You know what I mean? I kid. We say hello to Juicy J and Juicy J. We say hello to Juicy J. So fifth place winner. The honorable mention. And we say hello to Freebird. Sixth place winner. And Jet Petty, that's seventh place, and that's it. Enough. Excuse me. Pardon me. But enough is enough. And that's probably enough. That's, honestly, to be honest, you know what I mean? And winner makes 8, and that'll probably be it. Folks, we know I made at least one sale. Juicy J broke and came out to me and said that, look, he had bought the, I believe you bought the expanded, he bought, I believe I convinced you to buy. Did you buy the deluxe core rulebook? I believe that Juicy J may have bought the deluxe core rulebook on my recommendation. In their own words, I believe it was to finally figure out what you've been talking about. For those who are just who come to this channel organically as role playing game enthusiasts or solo role playing game enthusiasts, or specifically, I have been a YouTube content creator since 2015. So the lion's share of people who probably start off on my channel are people. Juicy J hasn't been delivered yet. You'll in time. Renee, Jonaside. Renee, Mrs. Jonaside says, "You're not my daddy, but I've all you've got." Not your real daddy, okay? But you still have to respect me, okay? That's fine. You don't have to call me that. That's fine. That's your prerogative, but you still have to respect me, okay? This house has to function. We've been over this, okay? We're going to see Dr. Kratz on Monday. You can write this down. We've been over this. You can talk about it. Put it in your journal. We can discuss it. We've been over this. I'm not the boss of you, but I am the boss of this household, okay? Co-boss with, okay? Let's not in front of the, we've been over this with Dr. Krutz, okay? Let's keep it together. And scene, okay? Keeping it together so we don't lose the new people for the RPG. So a lot of people here are just from my other channels who are just along for the ride. So, well, when it comes, you'll get there. But audience who are there to enjoy me for me, thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. If you're just watching for me, may my words and the sound of my delicate tones just carry you along. And for those who are here for the micro chapbook RPG content, or are just solo RPG enthusiasts supporting a solo RPG channel to support it, thank you. Thank you for coming along. The content that we're going to be talking about today is specifically for Noah Patterson's micro chapbook RPG system, and I'll show you how what it is and the three supplements that we'll be talking about today, how they slide into the system, and why they're great first add-ons or first things that you can add on and slide in. Really easy to add, quick, easy options, and they're really quick, easy options that you can. And looking at them and showing them to you, you'll be able to see these are things that you can get if you want to get them. Or showing them to you, you can see this system is a really quick and easy system. Once you get the basics of the mechanics, and I'm not telling you something, I'm not cheating or cheaping out the author, Noah Patterson. I'm repeating to you information that's been given to me by the author, by the creator of this system, in their generosity, in their own works. Constantly, if you go through this material, the author is telling you, it's your game, it's your system, take the rules that you want, leave out the things that you don't think work, just keep the system consistent in your game from start to finish. So that's advice from like a game master perspective, from a gamer perspective. That's what you want to do. Make sure your games are consistent from start to finish so that there's some cohesion. But as far as when I show this to you, when you understand the basics of character creation, and when you understand the simplicity of how things like race and class work in a simple system, a simple RPG system like the micro chapbook, micro RPG system of Noah Patterson, it gets confusing, as I've talked about in earlier episodes, because micro RPG as a naming convention is used by other designers for other systems. God, I need water. Hold on. I apologize. Give me 2 seconds. And so I generally use the convention micro chapbook RPG, though the author of the system, Noah, God rest their soul, they're still with us, uses that just for the fantasy setting, and uses micro horror RPG for their horror setting, and uses micro sci-fi RPG, but it's all really basically the same rule system. So I just, say micro chapbook because I think that's the easiest thing. Whatever. It doesn't really matter for us in context here when we're all know what we're talking about. In Dungeons and Dragons, in Pathfinder, in GURPS, in these larger, more expansive systems, race and class and, characteristics, they're going to have a lot of mechanics attached to them. In this simplified system, it's a really simple system. These race and a class will only add, one modifier, really, one or two modifiers. So you'll see that you can really, once you understand how they work, you can really make your own classes and races up. The wisdom maybe of using some of these things are not all of us want to be creative. When it comes down to sitting down and gaming, we'd rather know that we're just working with a system that's been play tested by someone that we know has been worked by someone else, and that we know works. Also, there are rules to use this system that's designed to be played solo in a co-op system or as a traditional role-playing game with a GM. And so, in that mindset, you might want to use these more standard systems rather than roll your own classes or races, so that if you did get your characters to a table with other players, you'd be pulling from a common system. Let's start by just going over the basics of character generation in a fantasy setting, just so that you could see a couple of things. Number one, let's look at character races and understand how they work. In micro chapbook RPG or the sci-fi setting, the horror setting, there are only four basic stats: strength, dexterity, wits, and charisma, that all come into play in various scenarios during the standard situation that you encounter in the game, which is dungeon crawling. If you expand the game out to include overland adventures, town encounters, or if you use it in a traditional GM setting where you're involving NPCs or whatever, these other characteristics may come into play in other scenarios, but they all have a specific delineation in the standard dungeon encounters that began the whole system from its earliest roots and conceptions. And you see the races that you might see in a traditional simple Dungeons and Dragons scenario. In a fantasy setting, here we have a human, a halfling, a dwarf, and an elf. And all the races do at this early set, these early first races that we see in the system, is add a +1 modifier to one of those basic stats. In this system, it's a roll under system. Your stats will range from a 1 to a 5. A 1 is the lowest possible number you could have. This is the basic system that I play, that is played with 2 six-sided dice. Later expansions of the rule set involve more dice, standard set of polyhedral dice. They include overleveling your character to include level dice that have, more dice, use different dice. I don't play that system. I can consider myself a 1.5 micro chapbook RPG system player. And that's the rule set that I'm referring to. You can use these expansions with the system that I use, the kind of old school system that I use. It's only been around since 2020, so it's kind of like compressed, like the 40 years of Dungeons and Dragons history compressed down to 2 years. I'm like an old school player. I go back to the heady days of 2020. I don't know. It's a roll under system, so you'd only have your stats range from a lowest possible score of 1, because a roll of a natural 1 is always a win, or a maximum of 5. It's a maximum of 5 because a roll of a 6 is always a failure. So even if you had a score of 6, a stat of 6, it wouldn't matter because a roll of a 6 is an automatic failure. So a score of a stat of 6 would be a nullity. So if you had generated a character and you had gotten your character you assigned your character stats, and you had assigned your stat of 3 in strength, distributing your allotted points to do, but then you selected your character's race as a human, you would have that bonus of +1 to strength, giving you a strength score of 4. That means that when you roll your 6-sided dice to figure out if you hit an opponent, trying to use that strength stat to determine that melee hit, you would roll your 6-sided dice, attempting to roll a 4 or under, because it's a roll under system, to determine whether or not you made that hit. So adding a +1 increases your likelihood of getting that hit. So you see that race only adds here a +1 modifier. The reason I'm going over this is because the supplements that we'll be showing you are going to show us additional races, classes, weapons, and armor. So I want to show you the basics of how those simple things work in the system, so you can understand how those additional things that we're showing you, how those things kind of are new and will add. Or you can also see how you don't necessarily need these supplements if you want to just go it on your own and just say, I'm going to invent a sentient starfish ass eater, and it has a stat bonus of +1 to wits, because you gotta be really smart if you want to eat that ass. Theoretically. Or perchance, it'll have a stat bonus to dexterity, because you gotta have skills. You know what I mean? It ain't easy. Being sleazy. I don't know. Figure it out. So there you go. And then here, look, section 7.1 of this rule set says creating your own races. Like I just said, if none of the given races appeal to you, because you gotta eat that ass, feel free to craft one of your own. To do this is simple. Think of any race you'd want to play as. Done and done. What is their background? History? Have you got all day? And skills. Covered. What stat bonus would they have? Well, that's a tricky one. Write in the race name and the stat bonus on your sheet. Okay. And we have an earlier stat sheet here from the companion set. You can see here how easy, you see how simple the system is, how simple the stat sheet is. Here you notice this is an earlier stat sheet from an earlier incarnation of the game. It doesn't even have a later rule that would have a damage bonus that you would get as your character leveled up. You would just add a damage, stat here, whatever, yada yada, and there you go. And then yada yada. Okay. And then there you go. You have health, willpower, and damage bonus. Like I said, you'd have to add that damage bonus to that little old stat sheet. And you'll see that some of the new races and classes that they cover will have different bonuses to different things. This earlier rule set just had the races having stat bonuses of +1. You'll see that it gets a little bit, crazier with different bonuses and for different races. I just want to keep an eye on the time. Here we have some melee and ranged weapons. You see that this is an old school incarnation of the game where they're still just using weapons demarcated in damage scores of either ID6, 1d6, plus a modifier of +1 or 2, and ID3, that's a 1d6 halved, rounded up, +1 or +2. Later on, systems will use different die systems, D20s, D10s, D8s, whatever, depending on, you can modify those as you want to. Okay, I just wanted to cover that so we would have some sort of, understanding of how the races work. Also, let me just do this. So those were races. Those were the different races. And then, classes. Okay, the classes add proficiency. I covered you roll. So we did melee. You would roll a 1d6 for hitting something with your strength stat. When you're proficient in something in this system, you roll 2d6s and you take the better one. Being proficient means you roll 2 dice instead of 1 dice and you take the better of the 2. So you get 2 opportunities to get your magic number versus 1, and your class just determines what you're proficient in. So these additional ones may, in addition to providing us with different class options, different race options, may also add different, in addition to offering us different race options, may also offer us different class options. So you see, there might be overlap. Because there's only 4 stats, obviously, some of this fluff that we'll get, some of these new classes and races, are just going to do the exact same things, right? A fighter, a human fighter is going to have +1 strength and be proficient in strength. Obviously, a lot of the new class and race options that we get in some of these books, I keep on showing that one on top, but here's a sci-fi one and a fantasy one that's more on what we're going to be talking about, are going to be duplicative of that build. What's going to be different is what makes it a role-playing game. It's going to have different terminology. But the words are going to matter to you because your conception of your character, whether you call it a fighter or a barbarian. Yeah, look, a barbarian is different than a fighter in Dungeons and Dragons, 1985 rule set, because if you look at Unearthed Arcana written by Gary Gygax, a barbarian is different than a fighter. A paladin is not a barbarian. But in earlier conceptions of a lot of these fantasy role-playing games, a player might very well call their level 2 fighter a paladin. They might very well call their level 3 fighter class character Del Swanto, the barbarian. Early conceptions of fighting fantasy, games like, the first edition of Dungeons and Dragons had, you could play a fighter, a thief, or a magic user. Invariably, people call their various different magic users, El Minkio, the sorcerer, Del Swain, the wizard, Telfuantio, the necromancer, even though there was no necromantic magic, maybe. But you know what I mean. And this is kind of a return to those things. The names will just be the difference, but the names will matter to you as the solo role player because the names will indicate who your character is. Yes, it may not matter to the rule set because it's a simplified rule set. These rules are, I'd never have told you guys that these rules are going to be, tell you what, a Volkswagen Prius is going to be, calculate its trajectory off the 3rd floor balcony, if you're going to try and do GoldenEye in Micro Chapbook RPG. But you can do GoldenEye in Micro Chapbook RPG if you're trying to play a quick and easy tabletop role-playing game solo in your Holiday Inn motel room, and you're just trying to do that, and you don't care about, the mechanics of the physics, gain it perfectly, and you just want to roll some dice and imagine taking down some bad guys. Just your old school role playing, and if you can use your imagination, imagine your guy on that little square of paper in a tuxedo, right? The ID 3+1 revolver from the Wild West play set, rule set. Just call it a Beretta. Do you know what I mean? It's that easy. Okay, so let's go sweet child in time, and we welcome Reemsy to the proceedings as I grab the wrong the wrong mouse, and we also welcome, in reverse order, we welcome Whore's Lover Fat, who notes it had been 67 weeks since CW mentioned ass eating, back to day 1. But I didn't know that it was, is it cross channel? Are we doing this cross channel? Are you maintaining a different count I thought we were maintaining individual counts for the individual channels. Horse Lover Fat says, I want to be an angelic Nephilim winged vampire brontosaurus. Yeah, possible. Let's figure it out. Anyway, let's go through this slowly. I've got about just a couple of minutes because I covered a lot, and I don't want to be a spoiler. Here we have Mimble's Book of Many Things, micro chapbook RPG. So this is specifically geared towards the fantasy setting. All three books I'm going to show you today um, list for in the print versions for $5.99 before shipping. I guess free shipping if you got Amazon Prime on Amazon. I have not looked to see what they cost on Drive Through RPG, but I can. Hold on, bear with me. Don't bear with me. But they're $5.99 on in the print versions. Um, Potions, classes, races, and more, designed by Noah Patterson. Now, this is obviously geared for the fantasy setting, but let me repeat, the rule sets are so cross compatible, it's not even funny. But I mean, it's not funny because it's not a joke. I mean, it's something kind of humorous. I also see Laney Liberty. I feel like the Magic Garden. I see Laney. I see Jonaside. I see Whore's Lover Fat. Okay. But so these things can be, put in any of your system. The great thing about this system is you want to be the angelic Nephilim winged vampire brontosaurus. I can get you to, I know I can do, it's the brontosaurus that's going to throw you. But here's what I can tell you, Horse Lover Fat. If you want to be an angelic Nephilim winged vampire, you can be that. And you can definitely do that. And you can ride a brontosaurus. And you can have a brontosaurus. You want to do that? And you can definitely do all of that and be the brontosaurus, but it might be a little bit of a like a cross conversion. It might not be exactly like on point. That was Romper Room. Laney Liberty says that was Romper Room. Are we sure? What was the Magic Garden? The Magic Garden was the two hookers with the braided hair that I wanted to have, that I wanted to do things with. They were, I was into those girls. They were bomb diggity. I wanted those two girls. I want those girls now. But I was exposed to, my childhood was dramatic. I was not allowed to have a normal childhood. Anyway, let's not go into it. This is good. I like this. Noah has done this. I like this that Noah does. This here's Mimble's introduction. The whole thing is set up. The role playing goes thick. The thing is set up like it's the role playing is involved. Here's Mimble himself. He's like the little shopkeep, and here's his little introduction. I'm not going to spoil it for you. He's like, welcome to my thing. You see, it's like a whole little thing, and then it explains to you what it is. And then here are the races, and you see, just like I told you, here's the different races, and here's their stat bonuses. And you'll see that while some of them have the traditional +1 stat that we saw for the beginner, the standard races, we see that some of them, like the Black Dragonling we see here, have 2. This will radically affect your game. Having 2 stat bonuses versus 1 will make the game a lot easier. So if you're struggling, you might want to think about the fact that, and also if you're just hearing this and you're starting off, you might know and understand that you can play around and have 2 stat bonuses. Also, in later iterations of the game, like the Gay Realms playsets, they have things like orders that have additional stat bonuses, so you can have kind of an over level character if you're having a struggle. And you can do that without this book by just knowing that, hey, some of these imagined races, these later races, have bonus 2 stat bonuses. So when you're doing your own creator race, if you bought the expanded rule, the like earlier rule set, know that when you roll your own races, do 2 stat bonuses. Why not? You can. Okay, here's a catling. That's a cheetah. Catling lion. Look, hey, you know what I mean? And the different stat bonuses. And you can see there that, look, and it's also just like, then that just that can get your mind going. Look, if they have a catling lion, a catling cheetah with a bonus to dexterity, a catling lion with a bonus to strength, a catling panther with a bonus to, wits or whatever. You can kind of see, and they have catling snow leopard with a plus to dexterity and charisma. You can kind of see what they're doing here. Catling sabertooth with a bonus to 2 stats. So you can kind of see that, like, okay, so if it's a catling, um, like a catling, like big thing like a lion, it's gonna have a bonus to strength. And if it's catling like tiger, like something dramatic, like fancy looking, they'll have charisma. And so you can see if you wanted to do something like, oh, I want it to be, a catling puma. You might say, oh well, the analog is to a panther. Or you might say, oh, I want to be, something like this or something like that. You can see to try and see an analog. Here you have land sharks, hammerhead, cookie cutter, great white, and so you can play around with it. Also, you can see if I want to play a hammerhead, but they're giving it a +1 to strength, but I don't need that +1 to strength. I'd rather have it be dexterity. And I'm playing pure solo, and I know I'm going to be playing pure solo. Have your hammerhead be a unique hammerhead. You know what I mean? Hold on, hold on, guys. Hold on, I apologize. So sorry about that, guys. So sorry about that. Okay. So where was I? So my apologies. So you see, so if you're gonna be playing pure solo, your ability to move around these things and do these things, I think will be fine. Also, this is look, I mean, this is not D&D 5th edition. The play group that you're going to be getting, if you're going to be doing group play, I'm sure they'll be warm and open enough to say, if you gave your land shark the +1 to dexterity, hey, we'll deal with it. Kobold, troll, fairy. Some of these have plus these different stats, and you see mermaid +1 to dexterity and +1 to charisma, and that's what it is. Look, it's just different races. It's just different mythical creatures and their stat bonuses, and that's really what it is. And all it is basically a cheat sheet. If you don't want to play with a dwarf, a halfling, a human, or gnome, or whatever the things are given, here's some new ones: satyrs, angel, demon, infernal. And a thing to know about both this Mimble's Book of Many Things and this other one for the SciFi Madame Mimbly's Star Codex is this: a lot of these characters, a lot of these different races that are given actually appear in more expanded forms in the different uh, adventures that we've talked about. A lot of the different videos that I've done, I've told you, hey, a lot of these different adventures are billed just as deluxe adventure modules, but if you go into them, what they actually contain is different modules, different little minor additional rules that can be added in and put in as supplements to your game. A lot of what's done in this Madam Mimbly's and this Mimble's, uh, hey, this is Madam Mimbly's, and this is the fuck, Noah. Hey, it's Trans Mimbly. It's Trans Mimble. What the Mimble? The heck? Whoa. Anyway, a lot of it is just the different characters. So you might see these things like I can recognize some of these things, like a lot of these, like the Necromancer, the Death Knight, and the Shadow Knight. Like these are we're crossing over into from the races into the classes and their proficiencies. A lot of these came from, like, there's a version of the rule book that is the evil edition that has different evil characters. So and some of these are designated as magic characters or magic user characters, but you would need the either the advanced character guide, the basic character guide, or the expanded deluxe core rule book that has the magic system in order to activate those, or the evil edition rule book to have those magic systems. Just to know that. So yeah, so a lot of these things are just basically the, like, one line use of these. So these are basically kind of like this is why I call these, like, the fast, cheap, easy ways to add the expansions, to add these things. And so yeah, let me keep an eye on the time. Okay, so yeah. So a lot of these guys, and a lot of these races are reduced here to just the stat bonus, but you might encounter them in other adventures or in other uh, rules more spread out. But this is a way to get them in early. Like I said, if you knew that you were just kind of playing a fantasy setting, you were just interested in a fantasy setting, and you had your first core rule book and you had your first adventure and you knew that, but you were looking to expand out, but you were comfortable with the adventures and you were kind of comfortable with rolling your own monsters or coming up with your own monsters, and we're just looking for something, quick to add in, just some new stuff. This might be an ideal thing to get. So you say, okay, I can start coming up with new guys, like new characters to play in these adventures, or have new options for new guys or new equipment to add a little bit more spice to when I play this game, but not have to worry about plopping down an additional $15 for an expanded rule set, or an addition, or for an advanced module, or something like that, or like that. Here we have some new basic weapons, and like I said, this is great too, because look here. I talked about this. I talked about the fact that I wanted to, and I knew that you can memorize this rule set. The basic 1.0, 1.5 rule set is a modular system of tables. That's all it is. It's basically just 8 or 9 interdependent tables that contain all the systems of the game, from character creation to the rules of how to play the game, to the rules of dungeon creation and combat resolution and treasure acquisition and leveling up. Literally, it's just all the rules can be memorized, and once you have all the rules memorized, then that's the closed system of the game. That's a role-playing game. The rules are a role-playing game in and of itself. And what you add to it in the form of the fluff, the names, dates, places of the characters, and the names, dates, and the who's and what's of the names of the weapons and the items, and the names and the characteristics of the monsters, then that's your world. Once you decide that the boss of the final battle is Tiger Man, and your protagonist's name is Buck Rogers, and the mid-level ranged weapon is phaser gun, then you're playing Buck Rogers. And if you change the name of Buck Rogers to Rick, and you change the bad guy from Tiger Man to Cyber Bird Person, then you're playing Rick and Morty. You get it? And if you have the basic rule system memorized, and if you have 2 6-sided dice, a pencil with an eraser, some graph paper if you want to be ultra about it, or regular paper if you can deal with drawing dungeons freehand, and there's nothing to stop you if you're not playing with miniatures and you're not anal as fuck, then if you memorize the rules, which is, well, I did this like 5 melee weapons, 5 ranged weapons. And in the basic system, they have the basic melee weapons and ranged weapons. 1d3, 1d3 plus 1. 1d6, 1d6 plus 1. Damn it. And then it's the same thing for the ranged weapons, and the cost of the regular of the melee weapons is it just 2, 3, 4, 5? No, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 for the ranged weapons. I haven't been studying, and for the armor, it's +3 health, +3 wits, +6 health, +6 wits, +6 health and wits. Got that. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3 on the gold cost. And the items, it's 1d3 health, 1d3 wits, 1d6 health, 1d6 wits. And the last item is full health wits. And then number 236, so you get them on a treasure roll. I've been through this with you guys. You can memorize these things, and then you just, once you have the system memorized and you fill out your table, you can write down freehand the table. Once you have the table memorized, it's 6 entries. This is like 3rd grade memorization skills, and then just write in what you want them to be. If you decide you're playing Rick and Morty, if you decide you're playing Buck Rogers, if you decide you're playing friggin' Hot Fucking Tonight. Hey, Reams, you want to play Hot Fucking Tonight? That was crazy. God just spoke to me. Okay, Reamsy, I get it. Don't worry. I'm not going to fuck you tonight. I get it. Universe, I get it. Reamsy is safe. I will not fuck him in the dungeon tonight. Okay? Jeez. It was a joke. Relax. You saw the way he was dressed. That was a joke. You'd rather play Flash Gordon? I'm insulted. I take it as a narcissistic injury. Now I'm going to freak. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Here's Reem scoring jokes. I deserve it. I would rather play Flash Gordon with Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers. There you go. I like it. But you put a question mark at the end. I like it. Here we go. I will be Flash Gordon. You have to be Buck Rogers. Okay, we're back. That's it. I love it. We're good. Here we go. Then we have the Book of Many Things, blah, blah, blah. And then we also have, then you have got items. We got additional items, all good things. I love these things. This is great. And it's so full of fluff. These are great ideas. Some of us are blessed with great imaginations. Some of us need a little help with our imaginations. So this is so good. You know what I mean? Because you can look through this and you get an idea. You know what I mean? And the simplest ideas, the simplest little put togethers can sometimes mean the world. A living skeleton with a wood sword and where did I see it? I saw a delightful little shield that was appealing to me. Where was the shield? It must have been in weapons and armor. It must have been in armor. Where is it? Oh, here, armor of every kind. Cooking pot helmet. Oh, I love that. Pot lid shield. Love it. Love it. These are also great ideas for things to put in a dungeon, to find. Here we have the SciFi version. Again, this is just whether you want SciFi or whatever. It's one thing or another. And like I said, a lot of this stuff you'll see, a lot of this stuff is a little bit duplicative. What I'll say is this: the SciFi one seems to have stuff that not only has stats, bonus stats, stats to the bonus. It also has, some of these characters have bonuses to the substats like health and will. If you're not terribly familiar with the system, don't overthink at this point because I'm running out of time. Here we have things like Xenomorph Half-Breed. That is the final incarnation of the alien at the end of Alien Resurrection that I thought was my spirit animal because various things. I'll get into that. Some Insectoid Mantis, if you want to play Simon Park's The Movie. Insectoid Ladybug. Ooh. Big Brained Bubblehead. Ooh, I love that. In Space Slimoid. Star Iguana. Love it. Demon Star. You know what I mean? Want to play Truxton? There we go. There you go. Space Bull Shark. Here we go. Space Tiger Shark. Someone's repeating themselves, but I love it. There you go. And obviously, get one, get the other, and you can have them all be all of each other. Here we have new basic classes, which is just it's just the same thing, but just sci-fi stuff. Vibro Longsword, that's what she said. Here we see this. This book obviously came out in Mimbley's book of many things. Is copyright 2021. This is 1.75, but I don't know. This is D12 plus one, so these are obviously higher ranged using different weapon things. If I were to play with these, I what I do when I use these sort of systems is I modify them down to D6 systems. I have my own system for that. I think in later videos I'll show you how my conversion system. But that's what I have to do for now. The last thing I'll show you is another $5.99 book. This is different than the other ones. This is Madame Mortica's Blood Offering. This is specifically for micro horror RPG, but I don't think any of these particularly have any rules that are specific that involve the special rules for micro horror RPG that are micro horror RPG has a one rule with adrenaline and terror that isn't present in the other rule systems, but I don't think any of them are implicated. These are different races like in here, but they have additional special rules that are more expanded out. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 given, but they're given a special skill that adds a lot of role play. But this is like a beginner get you started book, and a lot of these other earlier horror games have much more expanded but much more complicated rules for these things. So for example, the vampire here says vampire gains +1 to any stat of their choosing. Bloodsucker, whenever you roll an automatic success, that would be a 1 on a 1d6 roll in melee combat, natural 1, you may make a second strength roll to drink. If you pass, you deal double the damage for the attack and gain back any health equal to the damage dealt. That's crazy. But remember, this is a vampire. This is in addition to whatever race or class you have. Bloodlines are a new character descriptor specific to this supplement. They are basically the types of undead or monster you can be within the game. These character types may be explored further in later books. Each bloodline offers a new ability as well as new stat bonuses outlined in the following pages. You basically create your character, and then I think your character becomes one of these things. So it's my understanding you could be like a human fighter and then like a human fighter vampire, because there's also another game called another micro chapbook system called Darkest Dungeon. I think it's Darkest Dungeon. And it's got systems like this that's just nuts. Mummies, gain +1 to wits. Curse of the Mummy, once per battle, you must choose one enemy, monster in a room to place a curse upon. All your attacks against that enemy are made at -1. That's good because it's a roll under system. And all damage against them is increased by +1. Under wraps, once per combat round, you may forego making a ranged attack. Ranged attacks are not always made. Not everyone uses a ranged weapon to tighten your wrappings. This will heal you for D4 health. I would do that as a D3 or D3 +1, or I would take it as a D6. That's great. And you have Spectre, Gill monster construct, like a Frankenstein or Frankenstein's bride. Great stuff. Oi, zombie, phantom, transformation. Now look, and so that's another $5.99. This is the thinner of the books, but these types will add a lot of different options. So there you go. So I wanted to come back and add a little bit more micro chapbook, micro sci-fi, micro horror RPG content to the channel, as I'm wont to do. And I thought that these three supplements would be a great way to expose people to some more stuff. There you go. Tim Frey joins, and Tim Frey says, "Good old tiger shark. Is it a shark? Is it a tiger? I don't know, but I'm scared. Reamsey. It will eat you, whatever it is." And Andrew Vale joins us right at the end. There we go, folks. I gotta go. I'm actually supposed to be gone about 20 minutes ago. So I apologize to the people that I'm going to be late for. Do this. Hold on. No, when is Dream Now at the door? Tower card, and then I gotta fly. Andrew Vale. Hey, bye bye. There you go. Andrew Vale. There you go. God bless. A tarot card for today's stream. What will it be? What will it be? What will it be? 5 of clouds. This is the from the Osho Zen Tarot. This would be the equivalent of the 5 of swords in the traditional tarot. And here it's called comparison. And I think that is just great when it comes to this video, because obviously we were talking about comparing things. When it comes to the tarot, though, when it comes to this card, the 5 is for me. I always think of humans. The number 5, like the pentacle, has always been traditionally associated with the human, because it looks like so much like the human body: 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head. Like the 4 elements: earth, air, water, and fire, and the human consciousness that can hopefully control and corral and be one with it, and help it manifest into some sort of union with some sort of plan. And the swords, represented by clouds here in the Osho Zen Tarot, is the element of the intellect, of the mind. But that also makes it great, but it also makes it a potential trouble source, because the mind is a tricky thing. In Buddhism, we often talk about the monkey mind. It's always running out of control, which is the purpose of meditation, is to try and reel it in and try and harness it, because it needs harnessing, because it can go all over the place. And in comparison, when we talk about this card, and if you look at the text of this card, it'll talk about, we may look at these different things. We may look at each other. One man looks at another man. One woman looks at another woman and may say, "Oh, she's so beautiful compared to my ugly," or "What does my dress look like her dress?" Or one man might look and say, "Oh, he's macho. What do I look macho compared to him? Is he more macho than me? Can he kick my ass? Is he sizing me up? Am I tougher than him? Is he tougher than me? Will a girl look at him better than she looks at me, or whatever?" But the point of this card, it says, do you think that the bamboo looks at the oak, or the oak looks at the bamboo and feels this way? Do you think one blade of grass looks or perceives another blade of grass and engages in this sort of comparison? No. And there might be a lesson there that we don't need to do this either. It's not that the sci-fi system or the fantasy system is better or worse than the other. It might not be that this rule or that rule is better than the other. It might not be any of that. It may just be that we can see all of these things as present in the world, and we can know and understand them for being what they are. And we can take or leave at that. Okay, I love you, and I really got to go. So until next time, I love you, I love you, I love you. If nobody told you they loved you today, somebody just did. That guy here is Cable Guy Incognito, aka CW Chanter, aka Benjamin. Call me what you will. Call me late for dinner. It really won't matter. Okay, I'll eat it anyway, even if it's cold. Take care. Grab the wrong thing again. Here we go.